Hello, guys, and welcome back to Abs Talks Ball. It's me, your boy, Abs. And as the transfer window is now closed, I want to review and have a quick look at how Manchester United did in this transfer window. Now, there have been some marquee incomings, but first thing I want to note on, first thing I want to touch on, is how well Man United have gotten rid of players that should have been gotten rid of many, many years ago. Now, look at it as I have it all right here in front of me. Out of the club, we had Scott McTominay, Aaron Wan-Bissaka, Willy Kambwala, Hannibal Mejbri, Facundo Pellistri, Donny van de Beek. Also, we had Rafael Varane leaving the club at the end of his contract, Anthony Martial at the end of his contract, Brandon Williams at the end of his contract, and Jadon Sancho has gone to Chelsea. Now, one of the main things Ineos spoke about when they came in is having a certain age and wage profile that they wanted to have in the squad. And I feel they have had a really good first summer window in that sense, in terms of getting rid of people who either their wages were too high and they needed to go. So, for example, not renewing players like Martial and Varane, who probably are past their best and they are declining, and also their wages were high. And then we look at a player like Jadon Sancho, who has not performed for United in the last couple of years and has had some opportunities. Maybe you could argue not as many as necessary, but he's had the opportunities and hasn't performed, right? So, and his wages were also very, very high. So I feel like getting rid of the wages on that sense of it, I think is a really, really good thing by Manchester United. And then I look at players who maybe have contributed barely anything in the last couple of seasons, the likes of Brandon Williams. Willy Kambwala has kind of began to get integrated in the team last year, but I don't have an issue with him moving on. Someone like Scott McTominay, who there was an argument from Manchester United fans, keep him around because then he's always get out of jail free card. You're drawing at any point in the game, he might come on and get you a goal later on. The reality of the matter is Manchester United had to move on from that. As much as a great servant as Scott McTominay has been for the club, and to be honest, when this was announced, I wouldn't be lying if I said there wasn't sentiment attached to Scott McTominay, because he's obviously a kid that supported the club, came through the academy, and was in the first team and an established first team member for a while. But the reality of the matter is that if you are relying on Scott McTominay to win you the game, something has gone wrong in the game plan. That means you haven't scored the chances that you had early in the game, or you haven't created enough chances. So having Scott McTominay there is almost an emblem for failure on the pitch in earlier moments during the game. As much as his goal scoring is magic, it's like such an important thing to have as a manager, and I understand why the sentiment probably from Ten Hag was probably to keep him, which we heard reports of, that he wanted to keep McTominay. But the reality of the matter is you have to move on players like that so you can break free from that mold. If you're not drawing the game or losing the game towards the end of the game, then you don't need to bring on someone like Scott McTominay. So yeah, it was necessary for him to be moved on, in my opinion. Aaron Wan-Bissaka, a player that I've commented plenty on in the past. I feel as though obviously he's a lockdown defender. He's that asset in itself. He has something that is an asset, but that asset also means that he has value to be able to be sold to another team. And technically speaking, and even defensive awareness and these kind of things are issues that I've had in Wan-Bissaka's game for a long time. And I feel as though he is a symptom of the transfers that Man United made, where they overpaid for players who weren't worth their value. Paying something like £50 million for Wan-Bissaka, we're taking a loss on him. Let's the reality matter. Paying £50 million after his one season in the Premier League was rash. It was too forward-thinking. Allegedly, Manchester United scouted 400 right-backs before landing on Wan-Bissaka. That just seems crazy talk to me. That's crazy. We move on from that fact. Obviously, he's moved on now to West Ham. He started the season well. I'm happy for him, and I hope he has a really, really good end, rest of his career. But he definitely had to get moved on. Hannibal is an interesting one. Obviously, he's gone to Burnley now. It's an interesting one because when he first broke into their first team, it was like I mainly saw of him in the reserve, in the under 23s, under 21s, under 18s, a technical player, number 10, who connects the defense to attack. And when he came into the first team, obviously, we have to realize the impetus on breaking in from the youth setup to the first team is your athletic level has to be on the level of the men that are playing there. You have to be able to compete with them athletically. And he did show that. Like, he was able to get about and cover ground and get involved in duels and challenges. But that wasn't what I knew Hannibal Mejbri for. So ever since then, I haven't really seen that side to him come back out that we saw in the youth setup, where he was a technical player who was controlling things at 10, that had good link-up play. Since we didn't see that, I feel like it was probably time for him to go as well. Donny van de Beek, it goes without saying. Felt like a mistake of a transfer when it first happened. A player I really enjoyed at Ajax under Ten Hag. But even when Ten Hag is coming to the Premier League and he's not playing you, you know it's probably means that it's time for you to move on. We move on to the incomings from Manchester United. Now, if we analyse them, first of all, like you have to try and get across to you guys a sentiment of what it felt like being a Manchester United fan and seeing Xerxes Yoro. That was in a couple of days we had got 2 big signings in. Later on in the window, De Ligt, Mazraoui come as a package. Like these, like that's like so unexpected for Manchester United fans. Usually we get dragged into these long-winded transfer sagas throughout summer that we don't end up getting our first choice player anyway. So it was so refreshing to see, and I think credit has to go to Ineos and the people that they brought in. The likes of Dan Ashworth and Omar Barada, Jason Wilcox, these people who are making good decisions transfers-wise. If we break down all of these transfers, we look at it like this. Joshua Zirkzee is a player I like the look of, a 9.5 if you will, he says that himself. A technical player whose link play is really, really, really impressive. That's what Manchester United want to try and get to. If we're a team that wants to control games and dominate teams, we're going to have to need someone in that front line being the connective tissue between the attackers, between both sides of the pitch, right? I need him and Bruno Fernandes to spark up a really good relationship. I want to see how that works out. Whether that means Bruno running into the space that Joshua Zirkzee creates and allowing Zirkzee to have the keys to control the game. And as we saw in his debut, Bruno's the one that got Zirkzee the ball before he passed it out wide and got into the box and ended up getting his debut goal. I'd like to see the future of Joshua Zirkzee and how that works out. A player I like the look of. And then Leny Yoro, and getting Joshua Zirkzee, we paid just over his release clause so that we could amortize the deal, which basically means we paid just over like 42 million euros, which is just over his release clause, and we can pay that in portions yearly. So that was smart financially. We look at the Leny Yoro deal, the marquee signing of the window. The only reason Leny Yoro's transfer fee was that high is because obviously we're in a bidding war with not just Real Madrid, Liverpool and PSG also interested in the player. If you want to be making sure he is set on coming to United, it makes sense having to pay slightly over the odds. Which again, for the potential of the player, 18-year-old centre-half that all of Europe wanted, all the top teams in Europe wanted, it makes sense paying something like that for him so that over these coming years, he's a possible centre-half for Manchester United for the next 10 or 15 years. I don't have an issue with the transfer fee if you think about how long he potentially could be a Manchester United centre-half. And he did look very good in pre-season as well. So hopefully we see more of him when he comes back from his injury. Unfortunately, got injured in pre-season. The next pair of transfers that we got in, Matthijs de Ligt and Noussair Mazraoui, both from Bayern Munich. Mazraoui, basically for the same amount of money as Aaron Wan-Bissaka, is fantastic business in terms of the technical ability of the player being improved so much. Like the technical ability in that position just being skyrocketed by someone like Mazraoui being part of the team. Matthijs de Ligt as well. And a centre-half was an area we were really trying to bolster up, and we also linked to Jared Branthwaite, who we didn't end up getting in the end. But Matthijs de Ligt, also in through the door, I feel like he's someone that can improve the physical capabilities at the back. Also is someone who is adept with the ball at his feet. He's not incompetent with the ball at his feet. So if I look at him as a direct replacement for someone like Rafael Varane, it's a big improvement in ball playing. We'll have to wait and see how he does. The jury's still out on how well he can do in a Manchester United shirt. The final transfer that we got in, Manuel Ugarte. Really, I think this is the one that is the biggest. It's like chalk and cheese compared to what Casemiro is for Manchester United. I think that would be a really, really, really big change and dynamic change in our midfield, and I hope to see that really work out soon. Overall, I look at this transfer window and how we've performed. We've signed 4 or 5 first teamers and gotten rid of a lot of deadwood. In that sense, I think it's somewhat of a successful transfer window. So hopefully that translates out into the football pitch, and when we get all of these players firing and raring to go through this season, hopefully we see a lot of improvement and them adding to the squad that we do have. Let me know what you guys think down below about these Manchester United signings and the transfer window as a whole. What do you guys think about the ownership and the way that they're moving and their model that they're going for the club? Let me know down below what your thoughts are. I really like seeing you guys' thoughts. Make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe, and I'll catch you guys next time.